first time ever.
Hear you loud and clearly.
And it was going place.
That stuff's great.
But the game is not a roguelike.
Boomer shooter.
Bang.
Hello, this is John St. John, and you're listening to KEEP In the Keep, bringing you all the hits from the finest in the world of gaming and entertainment. Now sit back and relax as the drowned god Cthulhu lulls your mind with the tastiest talk in town.
Welcome to another chapter of In the Keep podcast. I'm your very own prophet of the drowned god, the Motherlode. The Keep is a collective of gaming enthusiasts compelled by the drowned god Cthulhu to frag and jib one another into oblivion for all eternity. Alright, welcome everyone. I hope you're having a good day. This is a very long interview, so I'm not going to waste a lot of time up front. Our guest is Jake, the voice, Parr of E1M1 Magazine, is also a notable voice actor and radio show host. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Not going to waste your time trying to tell you what it is. Just listen to this beautiful custom intro that I've created, especially for this podcast. And when it's over, you will be in the keep with Jake, the voice. Jake, a great pioneer. These are the voices of myself and Jake Parr. Our continuing mission: to explore strange new virtual worlds, to seek out new games and old classics, to boldly go where no gamer has gone before. So I'm going to actually change up the way I do this for this one because I think it'll be fun. Typically I ask something like, who are you and why are you here and what have you done so far, and just leave it an open-ended question. But what I really want to know is what in your right mind made you think that it was a good idea to make a magazine about retro shooters?
Well, originally it technically wasn't my idea. I was actually browsing one day in July on Facebook, and I joined a retro kind of, retro game community, just people kind of like slapping together images, hot takes, and YouTube channels, stuff like that. And then I just all of a sudden just saw this random post by a chappie called Zach, and saw that, and he said, hey, I want to make a retro shooter magazine. Who's interested? And we got a handful of people like who went in there and dropped comments saying, yeah. And I thought, this sounds brilliant. This sounds like, definitely like my forte. So I got in contact. We got us all together in a little messenger group. We got talking about it, and clearly, I think Zach kind of knew that I was pretty confident about this idea, and I had quite a few ideas to kind of throw under. So I think we just kind of clicked with some of these ideas we were going for. We clearly felt like we were taking the lead, and we both had the most experience of the bunch. So what happened after that was we decided to get ourselves in Discord, get ourselves some online documents, basically just fling ideas together, just grab as many games to talk about, and then ideas, let's do some interviews, let's do some features, like top 5 lists, and so from that point onward, really it was just kind of like throwing, smashing stuff together to the point where we thought that, okay, well, we have some kind of relatively concrete foundation to work on here. Let's keep going. So that's essentially the origin of E1M1 Magazine. It all pretty much started off with just one random person posting on a group on Facebook, and then me just randomly going, "Hey, I'm interested."
Yeah, I mean, it is 100% super cool. I mean, I have my copy of issue number 1 sitting next to me right here. But on the other hand, it is, it's 2021 now, and who the fuck reads magazines?
I've actually had a few people kind of echo that same thing. Mm-hmm. I admit, I technically don't read magazines myself. I haven't done it in a long while, but I know it's ironic. It's like when people say, "Hey, Jake, you're community radio DJ. You like the radio? I'm like, you kidding me? I hate radio. There's no good music on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a radio show and play stuff I want to hear and other people want to hear and what I want to talk about and other people want to hear about. So it's the same case with this, really. It's like, I did have like a bit of a soft spot for like, magazines back in the day when they were a bit more relevant.
Yeah.
With this though, it kind of felt like that personally. And I think a lot of people kind of felt the same way. They thought, you know what, a video game magazine? Oh yeah, just like in the 90s and the early 2000s, like, actual reviews and content that wasn't, well, probably mostly wasn't paid off by other people or companies. It's just a bunch of guys just getting together, just talking crap about video games and having fun about it. It just, that idea alone just seemed to really click with people. And I guess also, people these days, they love physical media as well, because, especially in the age of digital content. Just look at video games, for instance.
Tactile feel to it, like you can touch it and hold it with your hands. And it's also a community, like the retro shooter community is largely a group of people who enjoy retro things, right? Like it makes perfect sense that people who like 90s games also like other things that are kind of associated with that era.
Yeah.
It's a uniquely, I don't even know of a proper descriptive word to describe this community other than just passionate, like about what their content actually is. And I think that's part of the success that I've seen from you guys, because you killed it with the first Kickstarter and you just like immediately got a lot of support. Like I think we show the E1M1 trailer at Realms Deep, I believe was kind of the how we got in touch. Yeah. And yeah, like as soon as I saw that, like I saw you guys floating around, I was like, fucking magazine? Are you kidding me? That'll never fucking be relevant. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh shit, this Kickstarter is like, I think I subscribed to your Kickstarter on the very last like hour of the last day. Cause I was like, I've got to get, like, I have to support this somehow. This is like super cool.
Nice timing. Yeah, like I said, we managed to get ourselves onto Realms Deep. I mean, we got onto that because, that was through Dave Oshry, actually. When we were kind of faffing around with ideas and we decided, I think it was like from the earliest point, we decided, you know what, let's get this fundraised. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the best way to kind of distribute it. We had absolutely no idea that it would be that, this popular. So we kind of flung something to Dave because it's like, I didn't really know Dave at a personal level. I mean, I got him like on my show once a very long time ago and on my radio show a long time ago. Flung around just a few messages for like maybe press related things, and I think he also knows my my radio interview stuff as well, so he kind of knows that about a few people that he's friends with on there. But ultimately, we just thought, you know what, let's give a copy to Dave, like a digital working in progress copy, and to say, hey Dave, can we have some feedback? What do you think of this? Does this look good? And Dave Oshry is an absolute gem of a guy. He really is. He pretty much just went above and beyond with basically giving us some feedback, then said, hey, we can get you on Realms Deep if you want. I was like, well, Realms Deep? What's that? Oh my God. Yes, please, could you get us on Realms Deep, mate? And he's like, yeah, sure. So managed to give us basically a VIP pass on board, and we got the trailer all banged out, and he helped coordinate with that and coordinate with ideas, and He also chips in with a bit of feedback regarding the physical kind of rewards, which sorting out those things were pretty tricky. But in any case, he's been like I say, really real team player with all that. And of course, when it dropped on Realms Deep, I mean, I had a few voice roles in Realms Deep with like some introducing certain people for. I believe it was actually for your Realms Deep interviews. You just hear me going saying things like, and now introducing, So.
There were so many people involved. Like I was like, who did that? Like, because it was all. I think Jahara was handling most of that stuff as the director, and I was just like, wait, who's doing the voice acting? Who's introducing me? But that was cool. They
gave me credit at the end.
Worked great, man. God,
yeah,
that was such a special thing. Like I keep going on like every fucking interview since Realms Deep, we have to bring it up, but like that was such a cool moment. Because we got to get in contact with people like you. Like there was suddenly the scope of like who all's in this community. Like there was this kind of center for everyone to come together. Because before that, it was just, you're on these like message boards and these people are in this Discord and it's just all jumbled up. And now we have a home and it feels so good to just be able to like go to one place and be like, hey, I can reach so-and-so really quickly. And all the amazing content, because Alex and I were essentially originally put in charge of like, find all these like indie things that would fit into this thing and just like invite them all. And then there were so many things that I was just not tracking. And I'm afraid Zach's going to probably take my job now, but he's good, man. He's just got such an eye for stuff, like very attuned.
Yeah, I think Zach is, I don't think I could have picked a better, kind of co-creator or partner in all this. Mm-hmm. He's very kind of open-minded with giving a look into kind of like, the lesser-known things like obscure mobile phone ports of FPS games and the like. It's like anytime he sees that, he'll jump on it and he'll reel it in and he will gladly work away with that. So very, incredibly talented dude. Really grateful to have him on board.
I think every successful like team, you typically have like a charismatic guy who's good at, I don't know, talking to people or promoting the brand or whatever the fuck that happens to be. And then you have the guy in the, like, that's kind of like semi, like if we're standing, people listening won't be able to see, but like we're standing here and then this guy that's right here, your right-hand man, and he's always just like doing all the fucking hard work that everyone attributes to the other guy. So like, let's take, for instance, Steve Jobs, clear example, Steve Wozniak, and then John Romero, John Carmack, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
For me, like I have Gilmo's on and I couldn't do anything without this guy. Like he's done so much for In the Keep that it's unbelievable. I've got to like cut him in on, if we ever make any money, he's getting cut in for sure. So, but then I don't know, like why is Zach not here? Cause I think I invited him originally to be on the show and he's like, no, you got to talk to Jake. I was like, okay, whatever.
I guess probably because Zach would much prefer like to get me on board with like I guess he likes to let me do some of the press related stuff, you know, like I mean we both run the social media accounts, like we both run the Discords and stuff, but usually when it comes to like anything like interview or podcast related, anything like that, I think we just kind of like mutually agree that if anything of the sort happens, where it's like, jumping on a mic, talking verbally, stuff like that, then I'm going to be stepping in to do that. And like when it comes to the Kickstarter trailers, it's like, I step in and go, like, I'll do it because I can record the stuff at my own pace. I'll write the scripts. I'll bang it out. I'll organize the Kickstarter, and he'll kind of add a bit of polish here and there. I guess I kind of like to take the lead with certain things that I feel like fairly confident about. Which is kind of surprising for me. We're going with pretty low confidence issues, but to kind of be able to kind of find something, take it, and go, what, I feel confident with putting this in my hands. Zach, is that okay? And Zach is completely trusting with me, but again, he is always an incredibly reliable right hand man with a lot of stuff. Always like chipping in with bonus ideas or additional proofreading that might need, or contacting other kind of smaller name indies on the side as well to kind of draw people in. He's the one who kind of takes the Twitter account and basically starts saying things like, to all you indie developers out there, etc., show us your products, and that's always a good way to kind of get the name out of other people's stuff here and there. Let's get a good pop out of that.
Let's back this horse up a little bit. Cross that stream again.
Sure thing.
So I find this very interesting, and you can decide how you want to answer it, but I've noticed that a lot of people who are extremely charismatic in their persona, like, who they present to the world, struggle with confidence in reality. And I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, I've had major depression for most of my life, and yet people, when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh, you're super charismatic," and like all this. I'm like, that's all a fucking front. It's totally. I've developed into my older years. I've like sought out help, and I've gotten a lot better about it, and I feel pretty confident now. But I totally get that. But what's your perspective on that? Where does that come from?
Well, from my side of things, I mean, I've been through my fair share of crap myself. I've lost family members at a young age. I've been a target for bullying for God knows how many years. Just had some pretty rocky kind of relationships and the like. Yeah, and ultimately, to be honest, I'm a loner. I'm a pretty lonely guy with not a very social person. I never, I never go out to party. I never smoke. I never drink. I never do drugs. So that way, no one invites me anyway, because they must think I'm pretty boring. But yeah, look at the goddamn Puritan boy here. It's like, oh, shut up! Just let me enjoy my glass of water in peace, guys. But
that happened to me last night.
So it's like I guess that I just had a lot of things on my plate that for a long while now. I still got a lot of things on my plate at the moment. I'm still struggling, but I'm still getting by. Mm-hmm. But I just think that I guess sometimes there are kind of like outlets to be able to kind of like embrace something and let your kind of kind of channel that energy that's probably like somewhere inside of you kind of properly outward. Mm-hmm. And I guess things like E1M1 obviously is probably one of the most obvious examples, and getting stuff written out and banged out for people, and just seeing people kind of like fixated on our interests and get so invested in that is always great. I mentioned it before many times, of course, my radio show. I think that's probably one of the biggest kind of like stepping stones for me, getting on the community radio mm-hmm. and presenting shows, because it's like having an outlet with a bit of creative freedom as well.
Right, you have
play the music
total
talk about the games,
control over that. It's something that you solely can kind of like dictate how it goes. I guess I'm not saying like you have total control over the radio, but.
Well, I might as well do. I mean, I've rambled on enough about it. I might as well just start name dropping and the like. Well, basically, it was community radio, Siren Radio. I did this at university, mm-hmm. and I've been doing that for over 6 years now. Of course, I had to like put it on a long hiatus now because of the pandemic. But for the most part, it's a lot more flexible than commercial radio. Mm-hmm. For instance, we're allowed to basically talk about what we want, allowed to play what we want, as long as it's mostly, mostly radio friendly. Right, I've got a few funny stories about that, which
unedited, like Nas, New York State of Mind, like that's not going on the radio. I get that, but
yes, sadly not. Like so, I've got a few funny stories about that I can share later down the line. But otherwise, no. Basically, I guess it just took a little bit of time for me to kind of like get myself kind of fit into the role of being behind the mic and get myself out there, refining myself. And I guess the more I did that, the more kind of I guess I felt like perhaps it was giving a little bit more flexibility as a result. I guess that more confidence, like the boss was more confident in my presenting skills and the like. So that meant I could, like I do a double show, do the live show Wednesday in the morning, then do a pre-record highlight shows in the evenings on Sundays. And I guess kind of warmed up to the music I was playing, because I thought like, oh, Jake playing all this heavy metal in the morning, but eventually down the line it's like, oh, no, he's attracting a lot of people. No, I'm sure we can just let him pop a few tracks here and there to start rattling people's brains out. And like I say with the original point, again, things like that and just creative outlets especially, they're a really great way of, I think, kind of, again, helping channel our energy and helping us kind of gain confidence, because it's like you take something, you're really able to embrace it. And I think it's also a matter of like standing out a bit more. You take something that you're talented with, you're able to stand out a bit and say, hey, I'm doing something a little bit different, a little bit weird, and I can say I'm proud of that. I'm proud to do this. I'm proud to say that. And I guess sometimes it's just like you're able to, it doesn't have to be a persona per se. It can be like a bit of an extension of oneself. Like with me, like, if you catch me on Discord or anything like that, or Twitter and things like that, I like to be, I like my self-deprecating humor, of course. I can be pretty straight-faced, surrealist humor as well. But I also like to jokingly kind of be egotistical, like, especially on the radio where it's like, you hop at the radio, you just let the ham and the ego get to you, and like, all right, we're here on the Cyberden Siren Radio. Don't listen to those jabroni radio stations out there. They want to play 2 songs every hour, the same ones you probably heard plenty of times before, but not on the Cyberden. No, we actually play music that at least 3 people out there, our 3 listeners want to hear. Yeah, so clearly hot shots, right? Just kind of mucking around with that.
So, what kind of music really, like, gets to you? What is it that absolutely just hits you right in the heart?
Man, I've got a lot of favorites. I'm a big fan of, especially of like 90s bands, or at least like albums, especially released in the 90s. But I'm a little bit more flexible. It's usually heavy metal. Yeah, barring video game soundtracks, it's usually heavy metal, like usually industrial metal, for instance. I mean, I love Rob Zombie, but I also love a bit of like the heavier stuff, like heavy stuff of Typo Negative, Rammstein, a bit of grunge, Alice in Chains,
KMFDM,
like a bit of the more KMFDM doing it again. Treat for the Freaks, Truth or Dare. Okay. There's also a bit of I like a bit of the more experimental stuff with like Faith No More, and I think one band that I don't think a lot of people talk about would be Laibach, which inspired bands like Rammstein, predated bands like Nine Inch Nails, another one of my favorites.
Taking notes here. Hold on.
And so, but definitely bands like that are just like a selection of some of my favorites. I think there's a few left field choices you could say, because I'm not always a heavy metal guy. I love heavy metal, and I love especially love remixes of heavy metal bands. Like I love like remix hunting. I think sometimes you can find some really awesome stuff if you dig around. But again, it's not always heavy metal with me, because like I'm a big fan of Johnny Cash. I just love his kind of like country tunes. I think very approachable. It's very catchy, very memorable lyrics as well.
Yeah.
So definitely him. I like a bit of dabble with a bit of the Prodigy. I'm pretty sure like there's a British person out there who probably doesn't love the Prodigy. So, dabble a little bit of electronica. I think, again, the remix albums that I kind of hunted down with bands like Rob Zombie, for instance, kind of expanded my interest in electronica music and the like. Mm-hmm. I like a little bit of industrial. Again, that kind of like branches out from Laibach. Laibach has some pretty industrial kind of stuff with these kind of like, they take like for instance, they take like a hippie song, like Live is Life by Opus. It's like, life is life, deep, deep, deep. And then they just like, they do a complete German cover with like this big marching beat and go, hey, Leben, Leben, heiß Leben. It's like, it sounds like some sort of like military Nazi kind of march song. But you check out the lyrics, it's like, oh, hang on. They did it with Queen with, one vision. Then they just, dun, 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 ein Fleisch, ein Blut, ein wahre Glaube. Ja, give me ein Lightbeard. And, it's just like, they blow it so much out of proportion, and people are like, what the hell is this? And you check the lyrics, it's like, oh, it's Queen. Okay.
Yeah. Queen was a uniquely powerful fucking band, man. Like they hit all the good spots, and I think that like I think Bohemian Rhapsody is simultaneously like the best thing they ever did, and also not like everything else they did is so much better to me. Like go back through the. Go ahead. No, you get your.
I was gonna say, I guess it's just matter of taste, really. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Queen, to be honest. It's like I know the popular stuff, and anyone does.
I love Queen.
I never really got into it personally, because I guess there's a few reasons. Number one, actually, I think one of the reasons probably is going to places like work. When a retail job, and you just hear them constantly play like Under Pressure over and over. It's like, look, I like a bit of Bowie and I like a bit of Queen, but it's like I don't want to be hearing this every hour because it just kind of sucks the fun out. I guess that's kind of one of the reasons why.
It's the worst thing about these like giant superstar bands is that they have like actual artistic integrity, and people just like, oh yeah, like they hear all the hits and they're like, yeah, okay. But the thing is, like, I mean, listen to the Highlander. Sorry, not the Highlander. Is it the Highlander soundtrack? Yes. Okay. Give me the prize, right? The Flash Gordon soundtrack also, like Queen. Their best shit is stuff that like gets written off, like it never gets played on the radio. Like it's just, there's a lot of bands, I mean, most bands like that. People say like my favorite Metallica song is Enter Sandman. Like go fuck yourself. But my general rule of thumb, and this might be the most pretentious thing I say all day, but my general rule of thumb is when you ask someone like, what kind of music do you like? they say, "Oh, I like a bit of everything. I just like music." Whatever. I'm like, "You don't really like music." That's my first instinct, and it's probably wrong, but it's like we're not going to have an interesting conversation.
More than likely, it's like the radio-friendly stuff. Like, oh, I'm a big fan of Soft Cell. Oh, which ones? Tainted Love. What else? What else? Nirvana. Oh yeah. What'd you like of Nirvana? Did they sing the song "Welcome to the Forest" and "Sweet Sweet Kid of Yours"? Please get out. Please get out before I punch you.
Man, I don't know. I'm one of those people like where people ask me like, "What kind of music do you like?" And I'm like, I don't know. It's just like, what did I listen to today? Because the answer is I spent all day listening to Madonna. Like that's just the fact. I just
As you do.
I have a fucking weird thing where I just love Madonna. But you catch me on a different day and I'm like right here with the Wu-Tang Clan tattoo. I mean, you call it. Like I love Mastodon is probably my favorite metal band. I don't know how to categorize it. I listen to Thelonious Monk like all the fucking time. I love like especially big band jazz. Not like Thelonious Monk's kind of just a piano player, but you know, Duke Ellington, Glenn Miller, Benny Goodman, all that kind of shit. Like it's just weird. I grew up in the Southeast too, so I have like this outlaw country thing going on. It's just catch me in a mood. That's it. Like there's no there's no further thing into it. You know, when you're a teenager, you kind of go through this phases where like, yeah, I only like metal, or I'm a hippie now. I just listen to Allman Brothers all day. But I don't know, man. Music is such a telling part of someone's personality, which is the reason why I wanted to kind of like dig into it a bit with you.
Yeah, I think getting to know people through their music interests is always a great fun when you're able to kind of like get on one another's level, just go one to one like favorite bands, and even if there's some that you don't necessarily agree with or haven't heard much of, kind of spark each other's interest. But then there's always like maybe one or two bands where it's like, hey, you know, I love those guys too, and you know, just start conversing that way. It's just a great kind of outlet to start exploring one another's ideas about music taste. And again, as I say, you know, people say, oh, you know, I love my heavy metal, and then they just throw left field like myself and say, well, I like a bit of Depeche Mode alongside, but I love a bit of heavy metal. You know, it's good to have like a pretty broad palette of different kind of flavors. It's funny because I remember I used to get like a little bit of flack from my brother and dad because they're like, oh, Jake only likes like what 3 bands, and he listens to like a handful of songs. It's like, yeah, whatever. So that's something I kind of embrace as a joke, and it's like, especially, you know, going around the house like with my flatmates, or maybe go on the radio as well. And it's like, hey, it's a Cyberden. We only know like 2 or 3 bands, and we only play like 2 each anyway. So you don't want to listen to this if you want to hear those again. We just listen to Rammstein and Typo Negative, and that's it. You know, just because we play those kind of bands so much. But like I say, it's just good to be broad and kind of, you know, have a pretty broad palette of different bands and genres. It's great. It's a great segue when you get to a band. There's a certain kind of aspect about it, or maybe like, you know, remixes, or maybe just like certain covers, and you kind of use that, and that kind of helps you branch out. Again, I mentioned with listening to Lieback. Listening to Rammstein got me into Lieback. Lieback got me a bit more interested in industrial. Listening to Rob Zombie remixes got me interested in The Prodigy. And, you know, just like that, kind of branching out in a sense.
What about DAF? Do you like them?
Never heard anything by DAF.
What? Oh my god, dude. Finally. DAF, Deutsch American Friendship, or however the fuck they say it in Germany, I don't know. But incredible, like 80s industrial band. Like, go back, just check them out. I'm not even going to try to sell it to you. Like, if you like what you like, you'll probably find something you like in that.
I'm going to take one stab in the dark here. Did DAF sing Alle gegen Alle? Or am I getting completely mixed up?
I don't speak Deutsch, so maybe. I just listen to the music. Beyond, like, Darren Mussolini, like, I understand what that song's about. I just like the music. Like, that's the beautiful thing. I think a lot of Americans really struggle with this, with listening to music that they don't understand the lyrics, you know? like even Rammstein, like they're pretty big everywhere, and there's a lot of fans of them here, but just in general, I don't think Americans they don't even want to read fucking subtitles. I can't get my wife to watch a fucking anime with subtitles.
I guess it just depends on how passionate you are with I mean, with DAF, I actually just checked it. Yeah, they did sing Alle gegen Alle, which is something that's a Liebeck did a cover of. So, I guess with foreign bands, etc., I think there's still an appeal to listening to a band with a different language. I mean, like, you know, with Rammstein, for instance, it's probably going to be that's like my main go-to example. I know that some people are probably like, oh, I don't want to listen to the subtitles, I don't want translations, but with some other people, it's like, okay, I'm going to check out the translation to this because it sounds awesome. It's like, wow, there's a lot to take away from this. Wouldn't have guessed at first, but I guess as a result, you're able to kind of pick up on certain nuances depending on how the singer sings and the certain phrases, you know, like for instance, Till Lindemann, for example, he likes to roll his R's when he's singing, and that kind of sticks to me when he does that as well.
Rammstein is really good at the playing on words thing. I mean, the obvious super big example is like Du hast has like 5 different meanings in German, and his inflection can kind of change the meaning of a word on the fly. He's really good at that, and it's a beautiful thing.
Definitely.
I remember when I first got into Rammstein, I was probably, 14, 15 years old, and we had a German exchange student. Shout out to Gabby. She might listen to this someday. And I'm still friends with her. But she, I would be listening to this music, and then she would just tell me what it meant. And it was like kind of a building block of our friendship. And it kind of led me to be more of a multicultural person. So
yeah,
that's, I don't know. We can't talk about music all day. We got to talk about the magazine at some point.
I was going to say, a shame, really. I was interested in sharing some funny stories about.
Go ahead.
I was going to step along with that because it's funny because I played Mein Teil on the radio before. You know, the song about
Mein Teil.
9. But the cannibal song about Armin Meiwes cutting a man's wang off and then trying to eat it and making a song about it. Yeah, I played that on the radio. I got away with it. I also played, there were so many songs I played, I think at least once or twice, but I got away with it somehow. Sometimes you play a song, you don't realize there's a swear there, but when you check or the co-host pointed out and it's like, oh God, please don't get myself yeeted off the
It's not like you played
waves.
pussy on the radio. Like, that would be...
Stickbratwurst in dein Sauerkraut. I actually said that a few times before, but I've said comments like that before, like quoting inappropriate lyrics, especially in German, but no one catching me out. I think the most infamous example of a song, probably 2 songs I should never have played. Rob Zombie's "Well Everybody's Fucking in a UFO" because I somehow managed to censor that. But, when you put the original song details in for, anyone listening in, they can read that and say, hang on a minute, this guy may be censoring it, but he's playing a song with this title. But I had, kind of censor the writing and saying, this is, well, everybody's in UFO by Rob Zombie. So that, and also, what was it? Black Sunshine by White Zombie. I did not listen to the song all the way through. And when it came to the 3rd verse and plays the porn sample, and I just paused, I heard it, and I was keeping in mind I was doing a live show, right? And I heard that, and I thought, oh God, no. Crank the volume down, just keep it low, just barely hearable. It's like, is it still there? She's still moaning. No, put it down. Wait a bit. There we go. Now I can put it back up. And I came out afterwards. I was like, oh my God, I am so fired.
What's your favorite zombie album?
Hey. All right. That's a good question.
It's an important question because I'm a big fucking Rob Zombie. My dad got me into Rob Zombie. I first got into heavy metal and kind of shit. And my dad was like, "Listen, son, you need to listen to this.
This is the good stuff.
Take it. Just take that."
I got a few favorites. I got into Rob Zombie via Hellbilly Deluxe, naturally. Sinister Urge is probably, generally speaking, my favorite Rob Zombie album.
I think that's a strong
American-made
choice.
music.
Very strong
Yeah,
choice.
I think American-made music to Strip by American Maybe is a strip by. That was a really fun album to listen to because I'd say that's another one of my favorites, even though it's a remix album. I don't care. That was really fun to listen to because taking songs that I grew up with or just really enjoyed on Hellbilly Deluxe and hearing different bands add all these crazy new twists to it. You know, you get bands like, you get Rammstein doing a remix, you get Charlie Klaus of Nine Inch Nails and Chris Renner of Nine Inch Nails as well stepping in. And alongside with some other bands I'd never heard before, like God Lives Underwater. Like I never really listened to their stuff anyway, or PM Dawn. Never listened to the stuff, but again, hearing these fresh new twists and all these badass songs, you know, like of Dragula and Super Beast and Meet the Creeper, etc. And it was just so refreshing. It was absolutely fantastic. So I strongly recommend that. As for I might as well throw in White Zombie one. I admit I'm not a huge fan of White Zombie. It's like I listen to La Sexorcisto and it's like a handful of songs I like, but Astro Creep 2000, molto bene.
I'm gonna come way out of left field. My favorite Rob Zombie album, for sure, is Hellbilly Deluxe number 2.
Number 2,
and I have reasons for this. So I'm a big John 5 fan, right? Like I play a little guitar myself, and I'm a huge, just gigantic fan of him, top to bottom, with the exception of I think Sick Bubblegum's good. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not against it, but it's like the single, and like I get people find it annoying. But Werewolf Woman of the SS, Jesus Frankenstein, and the standout of the whole fucking album to me, Mars Needs a Woman with the full acoustic intro. Mwah, like chef's kiss. Just John 5 going fucking nuts on the guitar for a Rob Zombie song. Because you don't hear that all the time. Like he kind of has to dial himself back for Zombie and for Manson when he was in Manson too. Like it's very industrial, like kind of straightforward shit. But just to really hear John 5 like just really play the guitar on a Rob Zombie album was perfect.
I think Hellbilly Deluxe 2 I think is quite an underrated album. I mean, like I say, Sick Bubblegum, love. Mars Need Women, love it. I think Jesus Frankenstein, I prefer the live version of that on the I can't remember which album it was, but other songs from that album I think were great. I mean, I thought that
he did the farewell tour with that album too. He did like I can't remember what the actual live album was called, but it was like the last of Zombie and Makeup kind of thing. Because since then he's kind of just gone to straight up like I'm just gonna play my music.
Actually, I'll throw this out there. Probably one of my favorite songs, like one of them, like top 5, top 10, comes from Hellbilly Deluxe 2, and it's Burn. I absolutely gush over that song. It's absolutely fantastic.
It's a top to bottom, really fucking solid album. Like it's between that and the Sinister Urge for me. Like Sinister Urge, like you said, is just like primo De Niro, perfect. Werewolf Woman of the SS was spawned from a fake trailer he did for Grindhouse, right? With Tarantino and what's his name? I don't know why his name's Robert.
Was it Nicola?
I feel like it's such an idiot. Let's see. Grindhouse.
Wikipedia will tell us.
Let's see. Grindhouse. I'm going to feel like a total jackass when I say this because he's like one of my favorite directors.
We just play the intermission music.
I do have that queued up for the podcast. Like that's a thing that I do sometimes. Robert Rodriguez. God, I'm such a fucking asshole. Machete, like all of my favorite movies are made by this guy, and I can't. I've been awake for a very long time, and I've had more than one glass of vodka, so bear with me.
I cut you some slack. Some, not all, just some.
Okay.
This is probably the point where you want to transition into the magazine stuff, because I know we've gushed over music and me blathering on about my radio show enough. I think people are tuning out already thinking, Jesus.
My favorite thing about doing a podcast is I don't give a fuck. Like, I just do whatever I want. And if it doesn't work out, then I'll just do another episode. Like,
fair enough.
It's the best. I literally don't care. I mean, I care if people like it. I'm not saying like fuck everybody that listens to the show. I'm saying, like, if you don't like this particular one, skip it this week and then just listen to next week's. But I know our fans and they like music, so they're probably penciling down a bunch of shit. Like, oh fuck yeah, I should check out this band and that band, and like maybe I should give that album a second listen. Bran Flakes, I'm talking to you. You should listen to some Rob Zombie in your off time. Let's see. When you've decided to make a magazine, okay, like you and Zach and who's the whole team? Actually, just go ahead and lay out the whole team because it's not just two of you.
Oh, there's a huge number of us. Like again, me and Zach are the head honchos. Contributor in chief, Captain Caleb, as he calls him, and we get a whole bunch of other like talented writers. Has a ring to it there. A whole bunch of other writers, like Goober, Linko, Millie, extras. It's like I say, pretty extensive. A bunch of guys and gals all kind of bundling together and just writing that stuff we love, you know.
Man, I should put it in my application. I'm a pretty good writer. So, what did you envision this being like? Like, okay, like we're going to make a magazine. And then what's the actual situation where you're like, oh shit, we have to print magazines? Like, how did that transition happen for you guys?
Well, to be honest, I think there was a part of us that wanted to go digital only, like initially, but I think we just thought that maybe we could take it a step further. I think it was later down the line when we were kind of like weighing out the options for like printing, etc. I think we did a bit of that beforehand, and we thought we had a bit of a rough idea how much it might cost us, and we didn't quite realize that we weren't properly balancing the books correctly, especially when the Kickstarter was rolling out, because we didn't exactly have a clear idea about post and packaging, for instance, because that's going to be a big kicker if you're overseas and stuff. We just did our fair share of research on different websites and said, okay, which printers will give us the best price? And it's like, let's just get a rough idea here and let's just pick one. When the Kickstarter rolled out and we hit the goal within the first 3 hours, we were like, oh geez, this is like stupidly popular. And then it just getting more and more. We just kind of decided like, okay, what can we do to kind of spice things up with this magazine? Because it's like, we want to get this printed edition out, of course. But we thought maybe we could spice it up a little bit, add a few other bonus gifts here and there. Mm-hmm. But again, like I say, we didn't quite realize that, the priority one was supposed to be get the magazine out.
Yeah, deliver the product.
Pretty much, yes. So I admit this is my fault. If anyone hears about this is my fault, because I was primarily in charge of the Kickstarter. And it's like, we thought, okay, every £1,000 we got, every grand we got, we would introduce a new stretch goal. And like say, okay, because we thought people are going to keep getting this out and keep donating, sharing it around. We thought, hey, let's give people the best possible kind of package for a good price. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that proved to be an unwise idea when we realized that we were gobbling up a lot of money on paper, of course, and we thought, I don't think we can afford the magazines at this rate. It's like we've got barely enough to cover this. And I thought, oh god, I had to go and make a post say, everyone, I'm sorry, we've got to make a few cutbacks. We can't print issue 0. We can't give out posters. We can't do bits and bobs because we realize we need to put the magazine out first. So sorry, but people are cool about that. People are cool, thankfully. So that was a big blunder on my part.
It is what it is, man. Like just speaking from personal experience, I started this, the Keep thing with zero intention of it ever becoming like a financial entity, right? I just thought like it should be a cool thing to start a Discord so we can play Quake Champions and have 24-hour pickups, right? It's really all it ever was supposed to be. And then and then the podcast thing happened, and I'm like, fuck. People kept telling me like, you should be making money off this, like you have a way to do it. And when you start getting money involved, it becomes like this whole other fucking thing. It's like, it's not a passion. I mean, it is still a passion project. Don't get me wrong. But like, it's not just as simple as, I do whatever I want. Like just today, like I got like some, like we have to change our font. Like our font could be potentially like a problem. Like someone could sue us. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, is that a thing? People sue people over fonts? Yes, absolutely they do. And so I'm like, when I look at the idea of a magazine, right? Like you guys are in deep, like you got a lot of crazy stuff going on that I couldn't even imagine. So is that even something you're considering at this point? Or are you like kind of smart about it? What's the deal?
Well, in terms of, I mean, you mentioned it before about the font stuff. That was actually something that we had to look into. We had to look into certain details and legalities, like for instance, copyright fonts. We found out that, you know, as long as it's from Windows, we're fine. With we actually realized that, can we even send this stuff to Germany? Because of strict censorship laws in Germany, especially with like the demo disc of games. Turns out that's okay as long as we're not advertising violent games inside it. So that's one of the reasons why we don't put adverts in our magazine, because, you know, censors. But also,
what techniques
we're just kind of like,
what is an advertisement? Like that's when I really get down to it. Like, is it paid advertisement, or is it like, are you advertising every game that you write an article about?
Well, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily say, if we were to do a review or preview, we wouldn't call it an advertisement. If anything, that's coverage. An advertisement would be explicitly saying, this is a product, buy this because it's awesome. You know, and just kind of leaving out that without really delving into too much detail.
Fair enough. Yeah. I don't know, it's fucking weird. Like, this is a crazy endeavor. I don't even claim to remotely understand the intricacies of what you guys are going through. But it's a great product, so there's that.
We're very glad to hear that. We've been hearing a lot of positive feedback from people, and, you know, really, really grateful for all the positive feedback, all the constructive criticism, everything that we get from people. We really are kind of blown away and humbled by. So it's always
some constructive criticism.
Yeah, go on then.
Let me hit the desk as hard as I can to make the microphone resonate as loud as I no. What exactly dictates a 5-star game? I'm very concerned about this.
Two things. Number one, if we are so jaded and biased that we love this game regardless of its flaws. Or number two, you are Zach. That's it, basically.
I've teased him.
I've teased him a lot by his 4.5 out of 5 review scores. I remember once when he shared a sample review with G-Man Lives, and G-Man responded with, "You gave this game, like, what, 4.5? What are you talking about, man?" And after that, Zach was like, "I'm scared now. I don't want to talk to G-Man. Could you ask him?" I was like, "Okay. Hey, G-Man, can I get a quote for the magazine?" He's like, yeah, sure.
Gotta get G-Man on the show. I've had some talks with him. I don't know if it's ever gonna happen, but yeah, he knows how to really dig deep and like really critique something, you know. And maybe that would be beneficial, like not to like necessarily have him write for it, but just to kind of have him be a weight to counterbalance that.
I think definitely get G-Man on board. G-Man's one of my favorite YouTubers out there. A great guy. Interviewed him myself, like I said, great guy, really humble, down-to-earth bloke. Fan of my stuff as well, which is very surprising, and he loves E1M1 as well, so there's your I heard this guy said this and that endorsement right there, folks. Just saying.
All right. I have a good question for you. You can slap me virtually if you don't like it. Are you concerned at all, or do you even think about the fact that it would be stupid for someone who essentially makes their money off of retro shooter content to not support you?
Yeah.
Like, does that make you feel like maybe they're not telling you exactly how they feel about everything?
So like do you mean like big name people, or just generally speaking
just
kind of
generally
people?
Speaking.
Or?
Okay, let's just all right. We'll take G-Man and we'll take Dave. Right, we'll put them where they belong. Right. So Dave only stands to benefit from you guys praising Dusk, regardless of how he actually feels about your product. And I have no insight into actually, you know, how he feels about it. Like, but do you consider that? Like, does that ever like pop up in your mind? And if I'm bringing you stress that you didn't need, like, please just, like I said, cyber hit me and I'll shut up. But I wonder, like, because it literally, like, speaking personally, I really like the magazine. Truly, like, honestly, I think it's fantastic what you guys are doing. But it would be like absolutely dumb of me to be like, oh, fuck that. That's not like, I would be like dividing the community to say, I'm not into that because it's this is a great thing for the whole community at large, right?
Yeah.
So like, would that make you worry that like maybe I'm not telling you exactly how I feel? Because I will, trust me, I will. But when I look at it, and if I were to say like, oh, I think it's great, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, man, don't worry about it. Like, there's a potential for me to be like, holding back my criticisms because I don't want to hurt your feelings because I want to benefit from what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I completely understand that. I think with the case of like, I think in the case of, let's take Dave, for example. Dave, as much, Dave enjoyed the magazine. He definitely was pretty handy with giving us like certain pointers about the content that he thought, maybe let's get that, try reworking that or change this and that, etc. Yeah, of course, we got his jokey little quote because of the fact that we gave Dusk a glowing review. That was before we even thought about messaging Dave. I gave a 5-star review because I absolutely friggin' loved Dusk. Brilliant game.
I agree.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Large portion of the Keep's like prowess in this community comes specifically from Dusk. Like, I would never disparage Dusk. It is fantastic, top to bottom.
Yeah. Hell, David Siemansky even loves E1M1 as well. But anyway, the way we see it is like, if there are people out there who like legitimately enjoy the magazine, great. If they have any constructive criticisms that they want to share, that's fine. If you want to just get in contact or jump in the Discord or whatever, if you want to let us know and just say, look, I don't like it for whatever reasons, we're at least willing to kind of hear people out. We might not agree, but the least we can do is kind of give people a fair shake. Because, how else... I get that it can be difficult to take constructive criticism at times. I'm a prime example for that. It kind of depends exactly what. But end of the day, it's like, how else are we going to grow?
I agree.
It's good to get like different inputs and outtakes, because that could make some pretty important changes later down the line. That could make some pretty impactful, offer some pretty impactful advice. And end of the day, I believe in free speech. If people want to say, if they want to go on Twitter and say that E1M1 sucks or that could do better, it's like, fair enough. Your opinion.
If I were playing a chess game against this magazine, I would lose. Like, you guys are... the first time, like, I got my first, digital copy of the magazine. I have their physical copy, but I will not open it. Like, I just need you to understand this. I'm never going to open that. It's just got to stay in mint condition in case you guys, like, make $1 million. But...
sealed with a kiss.
Yeah, I'll put a little lipstick on for it later.
Aww.
But, I just fucking flooded my wish list on Steam immediately. Because, I'm supposed to be in tune with this shit. Like, I'm supposed to know everything about retro shooters or whatever, but, like, Zach is leagues ahead of me in terms of what's going on in this community. And I thought it was all like really fantastic. Literally, the only concern I had was like, what the fuck is these? Like, what are these stars? Like, what does the stars even mean? Because like, I don't know. I thought it was fair. Like let's take Shrine and the Shrine series for example. I'm in love with Scumhead. Like, he's my baby. He lives
very talented bloke. Yeah,
an hour and a half from me. I just want to go just kiss him right on the face. I think everything he does is fantastic. And I thought you guys very fairly reviewed Shrine and Shrine 2. So there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's the 5-star rating is given away too easily, in my opinion. And I know that's understandable.
Subjective. That's understandable. To be fair, funny thing with Scumhead is because I remember Scumhead went on Twitter and basically said that this Shrine 2 reviews living rent-free in my head, like, what the hell? No music? What the hell? And it's like, dude, I gave you a 4-star review. I love this game. Why are you trashing it? But, all right, your opinion, I guess.
Yeah, he's
like I said, I don't hate the guy.
Person. He's a really great person. Like, I'm serious. Have a conversation.
I'm calling him out. I'm calling him out. I'm counter-calling him out, Scumhead. Yeah, what are you going to do? Make a game about me? And actually, please do that. E1M1 video game.
Have you played Vomitorium demo yet?
I don't think I have. Not yet, no.
I predict, I'm going to say it now, in 10 years, we're all going to be kissing his ass. We're all going to be like, we're going to be talking about him the same way we talk about Sabansky. Like, we're going to be like, oh, please, like, just let me just bury my face in your ass cheeks. Like, you're so amazing. I love you so much. Like, we won't dare to say anything negative about him in public.
There's a lot of stuff by Scumhead that I got to catch up on. Vomitorium demo is definitely one, and I depending on when the product comes out exactly, I will gladly go through his other stuff when I get the chance. Especially Vomitorium, I will gladly give that my fair critique. But anyway, the point with the 5-star reviews, I think it kind of just varies because sometimes I see the reviews by the other kind of writers, and I'm like, well, doesn't sound like a 5-star review to me. But it's just really, I guess it's just down to like how much you get a kick out of it. Like, again, Dusk I love. I mean, the multiplayer was, even though it's underpopulated, it's like an absolute adrenaline rush, just like just kind of bolting around at 70 miles per hour. And I kind of love it like that, but it's still kind of accessible in a sense. I still wish I had more game modes, but otherwise I still think all the way through just near flawless, really. I guess a 5-star review for me would be a game that is near flawless, because you're not going to get a perfect game that's completely utterly void of any bad stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. Like let's really dig into it, right? So I don't know how much time you have, but I'll talk until I fucking drop dead. So it depends totally on what kind of vibe you're trying to put off, right? With the mag. So let's take do you follow pro wrestling at all? Like, are you totally out of that loop?
I know only bits and pieces about wrestling in general these days. I grew up with wrestling, but it's like, I only hear like fragments of it these days.
All right. I'll first say, just watch AEW. Fuck WWE. Fuck
people say that all the time.
AEW is where it's at right now. But as far as the major product, I mean, there's plenty of great indies out there, but
yeah.
I will say Dave Meltzer's name because he is like the journalist for wrestling. Okay? But he was very open about the fact that when he rates a match, so he says like, this match with the Young Bucks at fucking, New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom or whatever is 6 stars out of 5, right? And people are like, what the fuck, Dave? Like, what does that even mean? But he's just like, that's how much I liked the match when I watched it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's not an objective, well thought out reason or anything like that. It's just like, that's how passionate I am about the fact that you need to watch this match. Okay? So, it is perfectly okay for you guys to review games and say, like, this is a 5-star, like, Dusk is a 5-star game. I'd give Dusk 5 stars any fucking day of the week. But when you start like the 4.5, like, so you're putting Dusk here and then you're putting some shit that I've never heard of. I'm not pointing out anything, but you say this is a 4.5-star game. So my mindset is that like this game is just a half step below Dusk. Like, so your readers, are they going to read it that way? Or are they going to be like disappointed by that review? Like, do you have a responsibility to make it all in line? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. It's really a matter of like. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Like I say, kind of just a matter of perspective, really. I think because keeping in mind these review scores all come from a mirage of different writers.
Yeah.
So there's that. Our definitions of what a 5-star game is going to vary. With in terms of like a 4.5-star, 5-star kind of rating, I guess kind of what comes to mind is like I don't think that a 4.5-star rating is like quite literally breathing down the neck of a 5-star game. If I give something 4.5, like Postal 2, if I give that 4.5, for instance, I don't think that, it's one step away from topping Dusk. But I think that, there's so many merits to shower Postal 2 with. Absolutely love that game. I
there are so many things to just shit rain on fucking Postal 2. Like, there's so many things about Postal 2 that are just shit garbage. Right? And yet it's still so charming. Like, how do you rate that? I love not being a critic. You know, like I love that I don't have to do that.
I think it's just like, again, definitely things like, the fun factor of it all, etc. I guess it's just like, end of the day, when it comes to like the criticism as well, because there are things about Postal 2 that kind of suck. Like, some of the melee weapons, for instance, the graphics might be dated by now standards, some of the jokes aren't that funny. It's like, if there are criticisms, we want to point it out, but it's like, we gotta specify to what extent are these criticisms. As I see in the camera, he's got a crotchy goal. I might as well whip out mine.
I hope Mike doesn't sue me for that.
Hi, Mike. There we go. Yeah, I got mine as well. Mike gave me, he got me to just pay Post and Packaging for a I Regret Nothing t-shirt after I interviewed him and Vince and Rick Hunter, Postal Dude. Gave me a free shirt, free crotchy, game, DVD, stickers, stuff like that. That was great.
As much as I publicly hate Mike, I love Mike. IRL.
Mike's a great guy.
Mike is the best. He lives here in Tucson, like him and Vince both, like right next to me. So they're amazing. Like great guys.
Very great guys. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to deter you from finishing your thoughts.
Oh no, that's all right. That's all right. Like I said, the general takeaway is, okay, if we point out these flaws, to what extent does it degrade the overall product? Like, with Postal 2, it's like, oh yeah, some of the melee weapons suck, but who cares? There's a bunch of great guns, and there's other weapons that are actually useful, and you can kick a guy in the balls, you can tinkle in the face, taser them, you're given a lot of alternatives, so that way it kind of seems like minor in comparison. Some of the jokes, you think, it's kind of dated pop culture references. But then again, the Postal Dude has some great quips. You got this bizarre kind of surrealist, straight-faced, dark sense of humor at the side here. Then there's just the sandbox aspect of it all, where the unpredictability kind of outshines that.
I would, I'll point people towards, I did a really fun interview with MK Schmidt, who did Paradox Vector and Star Explorers and all that, which I noticed E1M1 Magazine is now in Star Explorers, like on the spaceship, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think we like plonked on the TV. Plonked on the just like little desk reading area, little digital copies of E1M1. It's funny because with that, I put out that tweet. I put out a tweet basically saying, yes, you have permission to make cameos of us, E1M1 Magazine in your game. I wrote that tweet, and I mean, I make it sound like I'm joking, but I'm actually being kind of serious. It's like, no, please, it will be great if you put us in your games. It's like I made a joke also.
Please, God, like, do you want nudes? Like, I'll send you whatever you want.
I'll prostitute myself for money. Just call me Jake Delphine. But it's also, it kind of reminds me also with the post, like a jokey Twitter post I made, basically saying, like, we would gladly star in these kind of podcasts. It's like, The Keep, New Blood Interactive. It's like, okay, those two, I'm being serious. We would love to go on board with those. And then, like, the last three were just joke ones that I just made up on the spot that made people laugh.
Dude,
like I say, when it comes to just like the cameos and stuff like that, it's like, we are up for it. We are completely flexible with cameos or podcast stuff or interviews. It's like, we would love to do that.
I daydream all day long about what it would be like to be on Joe Rogan. Like,
the Joe Rogan podcast.
I've got it already figured out in my head. Like, I know exactly what I'm going to say to him, like, already. Like, if there were any way, because he's into Quake, right? Like, so if there were any fucking avenue that I could possibly squeeze myself into that, it would be huge for everyone surrounding us, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah. Hell, I highly doubt Joe Rogan would ever reel any of us in. I mean, if he pays out of pocket to fly me over there and back somehow, some way, I'll gladly do that. Just don't get him to, like, smoke in my face, because again, I don't smoke or do drugs. I don't want to be sharing a room when someone's doing that kind of stuff. But hell, any kind of opportunity to kind of step up and just start blathering about any kind of crap with a person.
Jake, sometimes you take one for the team.
Yeah, no. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Let me get back to what I was, my point here. So I would point people back to that MK Schmidt number 69, I think it was. Hold on. Number 69, I was right. MK Schmidt and I talked very deeply about what makes a game great, right? And
Yeah.
it can be a lot of different factors, right? Like, so you can have a really technically perfect game, like a game that has no bugs, that kind of thing. You know, Quake 1, Doom 2, that kind of thing. And these are perfect storms, right? Like, these are games that we're talking about 20, 25 years later. You can also have games like, let's take Stalker, for example. I think that was actually his example. You can see the artistic integrity through all of this shit that makes it not good, right? Like, so everything about Stalker that makes Stalker suck is overshadowed by the fact that the environment, the immersiveness, like everything that goes into being in the world of Stalker just makes it worth it to deal with all the bugs. And I think that the same is true of Postal too.
Yeah, I think kind of like immersiveness and artistic integrity, things like that. I think, especially like how the game makes you feel, I think those things can have a pretty big effect on how you enjoy these games, but it can only go so far. It's like when I used to read reviews of Bioshock Infinite when that came out. People going, 9, 10 out of 10. And I played it, and it's like, I'll give it a 7. Like,
yeah,
the gameplay is pretty good.
Where did you read
Story's a bit hodgepodge.
Where are those reviews coming from? That's a very important question.
Well, that is a good question. Well, it was a mixture of people gushing over it in magazines and online, things like that. Like, critics, bloody game critics, bane of this existence. Ourselves included at E1M1. We suck.
If there's two magazines other than E1M1, right, that I truly read deeply in my time, it was, obviously I read PC Gamer, and I have strong criticism, like far more than I could ever give you. Like, I think that what you guys are doing is fantastic in comparison, but not to say that I don't like the magazine. It's good.
Yeah.
But Retro Gamer magazine is one of my favorite magazines that's ever been published, and I came from that era of like reading magazines, right? Like, I read Guitar World, I read, just relentlessly read guitar magazines when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Music magazine, like whatever the fuck, I'm a fan of that medium. It just speaks to my childhood. But I'm really struggling to put my point together here. When it comes to rating things, one of my favorite things about Retro Gamer is that they actually show at the time, like, if they're rating a game, at the time of this game coming out, what did Edge, PC, like N64, all the different old school 90s magazines, what did they say about this? And I really respect that they do that, because they're not yielding to criticism, right? They're like, hey, we feel this way now in whatever year it happens to be that they're publishing their magazine, but this is how people felt then. And that's important, because if you were to rate The Witcher 3 on debut and you were to rate The Witcher 3 today, no comparison, right? Like, it's not even the same fucking product. So how do you guys deal with that? Because I noticed you read a lot of demos as well.
With us, we kind of just review it as it is, here in this kind of moment in time. But we still like to at least try and take into consideration certain aspects of a game that might have, that might have been bad then and still sucks now, or maybe misunderstood then, but nowadays it's like, yeah, I can appreciate it, or people love this thing, and we try it now and it's like, yeah, this is aged like milk. I think it's cool that, PC, I think it's cool that PC Gamer managed to kind of
Retro
still
Gamer
shed a bit of light on close enough. But anyway, I was
Your
gonna say,
fellow
actually, retro
Brits,
game
you
is
should
quite good.
pay-
I've read some of that.
You should get in contact with those motherfuckers and see what they do, because like retro gamer guys are all, as far as I know, they're all Brits.
Yeah, they never responded to my emails for more writers. So
Really,
they can
me
go to hell.
neither.
So
Actually,
anyway,
truth be told, me neither. I was hoping you'd do
in
my
any case, what it... Sorry. So anyway, bouncing back to the general point about the general point. Help me out here.
I tell you what.
About just like,
Hold on.
yeah.
Slow down. Let's take a little break. I'm gonna go take a piss. I'm gonna re-up, and then we'll continue. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds good to me. Sounds good. I think the general takeaway with my ramble is pretty much that. Again, the general feel and the atmosphere of things of games like that, I think that can only go so far. That can carry a game only so far. Just take like, people like gush over Half-Life, for instance, and say, oh, innovative, because the tram ride. And it's like, yeah, but the tram ride sucks. That's like 2 minutes of boring dialogue. It's like, oh, Doom 3, the flipping between your flashlight and your gun. It's like, well, that sucks as well, because sure, it might make it spookier, but it's an absolute pain in the ass to whip out your crappy shotgun and then whip back to the torch. Playing that on a console, it was so much harder. People say it's not so bad on the PC, but playing on the console, you hit the wrong button, you're back to the pistol, flip between that and the light. It's like, oh great, just gonna go through and through and through, and there's the rocket launcher. Nightmare.
I know I said earlier, most pretentious thing I'll say today is, but actually, if you're playing Doom on the console, no pity, zero pity. I have nothing for you.
Yeah, it was 2004. We didn't have a PC at that point.
No, it's true. Like, there are some things that just straight up don't translate, and I totally get it. Like, for instance, right? If you were to take the Quake Wars, Quake 3, I think was ported to the PlayStation at some point.
Yeah,
if you're going to take that as your example of what the Quake series is, you're smoking crack, as far as I'm concerned. Like, you're not even, right. And it's not your fault, right? Like, it's not anyone's fault that they just happen to find it that way. But there's a way to do it correctly.
Definitely, yeah.
And that ain't it. I don't know. One other thing I wanted to bring up about what you guys do in the mag is reviewing Doom mods. And I notice your name on a lot of those reviews. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Reviewing Doom mods, this is something that even I've had criticism about, because it's like, anytime we're kind of piecing together mod ideas, we can only fit like maybe 1 or 2 mods in, and Doom, any kind of Doom mod, total conversion or not, is going to crop up. And this is something I keep kind of like flacking with Zach about, and I give him flack and say, we're covering Doom so much. Don't get me wrong, it's like my favorite game, but we got to cover other mods. And it's like, hey, let's check out this one by Scumhead. Jake, that's a Doom mod. Oh boy. So it's a little tricky because it's like Doom mods are some of the most kind of accessible mods out there. Like the modding community is absolutely fantastic, incredibly creative. I mean, I used to be a part of the modding community myself, but my maps suck. But in any case,
we can't all be bridge burner, right?
Sadly, lucky git. But when it comes
that's
to
hard work, that's dedication. That guy, he's
well, it's like some people put enough effort into it and they get good. Some people put some effort but still don't get near enough closer. I don't have the patience to it. It's like playing the piano. It's like I want to play the piano, but I can't be asked to put all that effort into getting better. There's no guarantee I will get better.
You're not going to be Debussy, or you're not going to be Thelonious. It sucks. I play chess a lot, and then I'm like, I'll never be Magnus Carlsen. Like, why do I even fucking do this? Why do I do this? What's the point? Because I enjoy it.
So anyway, but of course, dialing it back a bit. I don't think E1M1 fans are going to listen to us talking about chess. But anyway, with like I said, with the modding stuff, Doom modding. Personally, I kind of part of me wish I had space, just like something just covering Doom mods, like one article per magazine or something. might happen. It might be just something that we explore a little bit more with the Patreon stuff, because we get a little bit more freedom with posting stuff for Patreon, because for obvious reasons, it's like, we post X amount of articles a month, and there's no kind of cap limit when it comes to what we need to
Right.
there's no limits to like writing too much, etc., because we can just push it back. But like I say, reviewing Doom mods though, it's always a blast, always great fun to kind of give those things in. Very approachable to kind of do this stuff. And it's something that I'd still like to kind of do more for future issues of E1M1. And I'm sure Zach would as well, but as long as we get the balance right between Doom stuff and anything that's not Doom, kind of modding stuff.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, it's weird. Like, Doom mods they're the thing. It is very strange territory at this current moment, because what we're seeing is sort of a revolution. Not like a violent, like not the French Revolution or anything, but
No.
the fact that Doom total conversions are now like within GZ Doom's parameters are licensable. Like, you can just straight up like make a game. So Head On, great example. I know why Total Chaos hasn't been made into a full-on game, but I'll let Sam speak for himself in that regard. I see the same thing with Age of Hell, with Bridgebrender's current project. I'm like, dude, this should be a commercial game. But I get why it's not happening. But we're right on that precipice of like, this could happen, right? This could be the next big thing. And regardless of all of that, like everything that I just said, there are so many great FPS experiences that are quote unquote retro, that fit into your niche, that deserve to be spoken about, because they are, regardless of their origination in the Doom engine or whatever the fuck you want to say, they're great. They deserve to be spoken about. They deserve to be rated. They deserve to be on the same tier. Like, there are Doom mods that are on the same tier as anything else that you're going to review. So I really respect that about your perspective.
I'm glad to hear that. Like I say, I just really hope that we can cover more Doom mods in the future. The fact that Doom mods are getting converted to the point where they can be sold, I think it's let's say natural evolution there. I think the fact that people have been able to find loopholes around, well, it's not really loopholes, because, as long as you're not using commercial, copyrighted stuff, making your own IP, etc. And the fact that, it's an accessible piece of kit and editing, pretty much, Just look at Hedon, for example. I'd say probably Hedon is absolutely fantastic game. I think that's a game I'd like to cover in the future. I covered it for a website before, but I think I might give it another shake. But I think that's going to be like a 5 out of 5 game in my book. I absolutely love Hedon. Absolutely brilliant game.
Zan is like, so in real life, right? Zan is an architect, so
Really?
it only makes sense, like, that he would be fantastic at designing a game level. And to be fair, like, I wouldn't give Hedon 5 stars. I would not. And I think Zan would respect me when I'm saying this, like, as it currently stands, because there's probably more to come from Hedon. But Hedon, Head-On, I don't know how he wants me to pronounce it, because he's fucking, like, Slav and shit. So they say shit weird. I've had like internal debates about what does Hedon even mean. Is it hedonistic? Is it Romanian or whatever for heathen? Like, what is this game fucking, like, what am I taking away from this game? It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is that Hedon really accomplishes a lot in terms of level design, how you can create such a game in the Doom engine. Yeah. It does not, however, answer me the question of, like, how the fuck do I get through this level? Because I've been on it for 145 minutes or whatever. That's a problem. Like, that's a pretty legitimate complaint that I think that anyone could make. It's like, I've been on this level for forever. It's essentially Arx Fatalis in the Doom engine, and that is a tall order. If you played Arcs, it's okay if you haven't.
No, I haven't, sadly.
So it's hard. It's one of the best games I've ever played. It has at this point, in 2021, a tall peak of like, if you want to play it and it's playable, you buy it and all that kind of bullshit, you've got to put, you got to put some mods on it. You got to like really spice it up to make it playable in Windows 10 or whatever you happen to be playing in.
Yeah.
There are problems with it, but it's one of those games. I would say the same thing about Stalker. It's one of those games that's just like, the atmosphere is worth all the trouble. And that's hard to say. So would I give it if I were writing for E1M1 on Arx Fatalis, would I give it a 5-star rating? Definitely not. But would I give certain mods of it that make it playable a 5-star rating? Probably still not, but pretty close. Maybe that 4.5. That's where I'm getting at with that.
Yeah, I think maybe I'd probably titter on the 4.5 out or 5. I think it's just gonna depends on whether or not I'm gushing over it at the time or not. But usually when I give like a top review score, usually I'm kind of concrete set on that score for the most part.
I am curious also, not just about. We talked about the radio. We talked about the magazine. But you as a person, let's talk about your voice acting career. Because,
yeah, sure.
Let's just be honest. You're Jake the Voice.
Yeah, Jake the Voice. When it comes to my voice acting career, I might as well start up with how I got the nickname. Because I think people kind of got the idea I called myself this, or I'm doing this to stroke my own ego. Anything but. This nickname I actually got from my radio boss. He just came in one day, right, and I was thinking to myself, I need like an online name, like a brand name, but I just couldn't think of anything. And my boss walks in, and he just boomed out, "It's Jake the Voice," very cheerfully, because he loves having me on the show, on his station. And I just thought, Jake the Voice, that works. I like it. Then, so I kind of just took that, really. I took that and used it, applied it on the radio, and also, of course, with voice acting as well. Mm-hmm. So that's at least the origin story of the name behind it, of course.
But you've had a pretty formidable career as a voice actor at this point. Like, you've done some pretty cool things. No. I don't want to hear the self-disparaging bullshit. You've done more than a lot of people in your position could possibly dream of doing. Let's hear about it. Because you have a really impressive resume that you're not letting on to.
Well, thank you. Well, again, I don't really consider myself to be a very good voice actor. I've seldom done that. I think I've done some good roles, got some good voices, but I don't really consider myself like any higher up than some people or other. I still think there's a lot of talented people out there who I think kind of completely would completely kick me to the curb when it comes to performances. But anyway, with some things, sometimes it's kind of just like a matter of sometimes it's like I knew the right people at the right time. I just bumped into them or whatever, and I managed to bowl them over with some kind of performance. I think I'd probably attribute most of my talent to basically knowing the right people at the right time. Just contacts, basically. Law in a Minute, which got bought out by Disney, and I was getting checks by Disney. That was simply because I asked Larry Bundy Jr. when I got him for a little chat on my radio show. I asked, "Do you have any voice roles, maybe?" Because I remember you being on Law, and he's like, "Yeah, here you go," and he gave me that. Same with a YouTube channel called Top Lists. Again, that was Larry Bundy Jr. as well, with getting on board with 3D Realms games like Bombshell. That was because I interviewed Fred and the guys from Interceptor, now Slipgate Studios. I interviewed them and said, "Hey, you need some voice actors?" And they said, actually, it's a funny story to this. They basically said, we're looking for someone who can do a Macho Man Randy Savage impression. So we did it.
That's
and
so Fred. That is the most Fred thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, and they laughed and said, we got to get you in our game right now.
Oh, yeah.
So
Let's.
oh, yeah.
Snap into a Slim Jim. Oh, yeah.
Randy Savage.
So I brought up wrestling earlier, but like, come on, man. It's a thing. It's totally a thing.
Cool people are in touch with wrestling. It's like cool people are more interested in the politics of wrestling and the celebrities of wrestling rather than the wrestling itself. It's kind of funny in that regard.
That is
but anyway.
true.
But anyway, like I say, so that's what it boils down to really, like mostly down to knowing the right people at the right time and getting contacts that way. That's mostly how I've gotten like a lot of my stuff, because like I'm pretty bad when it comes to auditioning, because like I'm very unlucky with auditions, and that's kind of the reason why I don't really audition so much unless someone comes to me first and basically says, Jake, could you audition for our game? And it's like, I will gladly audition. I'd love to. Whether they say like, oh, if it's paid or not, that might kind of vary, but I think to myself, well, if it's fun, then maybe I could give it a crack, as long as there's not too many lines. But usually, I like to think I'm fairly flexible otherwise with certain voice roles and stuff.
Jake, you're being humble. It's pissing me off.
I'm serving up humble pie. Who wants a slice? I guess
literally read off your resume. It's like, all right, well, okay. This guy's got a lot of talent. I should probably hire him for my project. Like,
I appreciate the kind words, but with again, it's like, because it's like with certain performances, I know people tell me that I got to like big myself up a bit more, but it's like, certain performances I listen back to or remember, and I think, wow, this really sucked. But there's other performances where I think, actually, was there?
You think John St. John looks at Duke Nukem and he's like, I should have done some shit differently. Probably. You're probably right. Probably does. But
yeah, probably. I think sometimes, maybe.
He's making that fucking narrow, bro. Like, that big fucking money. I
think, actually, I remember an interview with John St. John. I think golden words he said when it comes to voice acting, you are your harshest critic. I think that's something that really stuck to me, that piece of advice.
Stephen Weyte, same fucking thing.
Stephen Weyte, yeah. I wish I could get him on board for an interview, but sadly he's not interested. I've tried multiple times now, but disappointing, really.
You have a connection. You're a Realms Deep entity.
True, but
Stephen Weyte is deeply connected to them. I would pay him to be on my show. Like, I would. I'd actually give him money if I had to. But
he's a humble guy, and I guess he just prefers to keep to himself. He's told me that he doesn't really like talking about his past career. He kind of just enjoys it in the moment and just like goes for the next project. I can respect that. He's a respectful guy, but it kind of sucks that he can't come on board someday.
There's nothing wrong with that, but a conversation between Jake the Voice and Stephen Weyte would be amazing, right?
Hell, I'd pay for that too.
I'll pay for you to talk to. Like, I won't even be involved in the fucking interview. Like, I just want to hear it. Like,
that's good. Do like a Caleb impression sound off. I mean, I like to think my Caleb impression is pretty good.
Yeah, he's part of the union, which is a weird thing that I know.
Yeah,
I don't have an opinion on the union. I really don't. Like, I've not studied it enough to actually like place my values on like, oh yeah, this is a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. Like, if Stephen Weyte is benefiting from it, cool, whatever.
Yeah,
it's just an issue of like, he's in Graven, he's in Dusk,
Gloomwood,
he's in a lot of amazing games that we all know and respect. And
Yeah.
to say, if I had anything to say to Stefan, it's like, I get that you don't want to talk about, your past career too much or like dwell on the past, but like you sort of potentially owe it to people who are obsessed. Like, truly, there are people who are obsessed with blood, right?
Me.
To potentially like give us a little bit. Maybe it's not on him. Like, he doesn't have to, but it would really mean a lot to that community to hear from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of to whet everyone's beak. I agree. I would love it if he could kind of like just fan service us just a little bit by kind of, even if it's just an open statement, just saying, hey, thank you very much, everyone. But I guess we'll wait and see if that ever happens.
My next kind of segue, which is really improper and not fun at all. I would like to have your criticism or your critique, ideas on interviewing someone, because I know it's something that you've done quite often. And I'm from a different perspective, right? Like, you do it on the radio a lot. I do it on a podcast where I'm a little more free to dig into people and like just talk about whatever the fuck I feel like talking about. But
Yeah.
I feel like what you do has a merit that is totally important and totally there are things to learn from the past that potentially could benefit the future, even if I decide after we're done with this, like, yeah, you know what? Fuck Jake. He's dumb. I'm not going to do that. I want you to tell me what you think in terms of like your experience being interviewed today and what could be improved in the future and how you do it in your line of work.
With critiquing this interview right now, I've enjoyed it. I've definitely enjoyed this kind of free roam kind of stuff. Usually, personally, I like to keep things a little bit more structured, so that way the transitions seem a bit more natural. I get that sometimes even I can like go on a tangent to ramble on, but sometimes I got to like pull myself back at times. But usually, again, with my interviews, though, that's how I like to keep it. I like to keep it kind of fixated in a certain pattern, maybe a little bit of flex if I'm able to kind of work it in. But I guess the difference between an interview and a podcast, of course, podcast should be a bit more, a little bit more balanced, It's like, of course, the host can talk as they want. If they've got a guest, then of course, they're naturally going to probably put the guest on a bit of a pedestal. With interviews that I've done for my radio show, with radio interviews, what I try and do is kind of put 90% of the interviewee on the pedestal, let them talk, and then me handle the questions, maybe some funny little banter or anecdotes, and just the interview questions. But that's just how I do things. Some people are like, some people do it differently. Some people like again, because interviews on a podcast, interviews on radio, two completely different mediums. But personally, when I do the interviews myself, I want to put the spotlight pretty much primarily on them. Let them start talking.
I got to be totally candid and say that as much as I respect what you do, and I think that it's cool and important to continue to do, as long as you possibly can, radio is gone. Like, it's, and you can push back. Please push back if you feel differently.
What?
I feel like live radio is just fucking done. Like, it's so structured and so like in the moment. I don't feel like the current generation can continue to appreciate that medium. And I want to go back a little bit before I let you divulge on this. I have a deep respect for the radio. Like, I grew up in the radio generation. I I have a deep respect for John St. John. He literally was a DJ in my hometown as a little boy, right? I just think that the homogenized and unfortunately totally corporatized is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Entity that is terrestrial radio in these days is indefeatable, other than to resort to the internet, where you have this open medium, which is podcasting, which I could never picture myself doing what you do. I think what you do is totally admirable and beautiful. I just couldn't picture myself being restricted by the rules and the position that you've seen yourself in. So I'm really curious.
I completely understand that. I think the radio I do is not paid. It's community radio, not commercial, because I failed 2 interviews for commercial radio. And in the end, I thought, well, they don't want me. Why should I want them? It's like really restrictive on rails, the kind of stuff they do. Community radio, a lot more free flowing, like I say, more creative freedom, creative input. In terms of whether it's like, gone medium. The Cyberden on Siren Radio was actually one of the most popular shows on the station. So, and there's always like an increase in online listeners, especially like abroad. So what we were doing was clearly tapping into, an audience that were eager. We might not have been household names. It's kind of like, we kind of likened ourselves to a bit of a cult classic.
I think that what you do...
Maybe you got a little bit sloppy. But.
Is what made radio great when it was great. I just think that your days are limited, if that makes sense.
Well, I don't plan on doing it forever. Let's put it that way. I don't plan on doing radio forever. Whether or not I'm going to take on podcasting, which, again, this is something that always bugs me when people call the Cyberden a podcast. It's like, it's a radio show. There's a bloody difference. But whether or not I'm going to give podcasting a try in the future, I think I wouldn't say no to it, but to be honest, it really depends on if I'm going to have like some kind of audience already. Like, if I dive in and I do episodes where I've got like 3 listeners per 2 hours, then I'm going to be like, screw this, I'm not going to bother. Because the effort I put in, I hope there's going to be at least some kind of decent... I'm not expecting like 1,000 views overnight, because, with my interviews, I get like 100, 200, and it's like, okay, as long as some people enjoy it. If more, great.
I will personally produce the E1M1 radio show, like podcast or whatever.
Honestly,
you're crazy. You have a huge following. Like, you have a really significant following for your magazine already. And the magazine, let's just be totally clear. A magazine is a thing of the past, just as radio is. If you were to make that step into modern media, it would be totally successful. It would 100%. Like, you would get so much good response. If you're satisfied with the response that you've gotten to E1M1 Magazine so far, E1M1 podcast would eclipse In the Keep, and I would be 100% happy to help you do it.
I think with an E1M1 podcast, this is actually something I've recently thought about. I mean, someone suggested it in the past, I wasn't too sure, but the more I think about it, I think it could be a possibility. I don't think it'll be a recurring thing. It might just be between maybe chit-chats between developers, or just kind of just the staff themselves. Just maybe make it a little bit like, for instance, the I Regret Nothing podcast from the guys at Running with Scissors, which is pretty fun to kind of dip into.
With Miss Slaughter,
I hope that I'll be invited someday.
I know Mike, and I've been waiting for my fucking invite. Like, Mike, stop being a little bitch. Have me on the podcast.
I was going to say, I started Postal 4. I've interviewed the Postal voice actors before anyone else for the first time ever, and it's like, hopefully Michael will go, let's get him on board. But then again, maybe it's just me who wants to kind of like, prod him first. But I don't want to do that because I'm too shy. It's like, Mike, please notice me. I don't want to poke you further. It
Hold
won't
on.
seem as impressive.
I'm gonna text Mike.
But
It's what?
don't do
Thir-
that.
No. Fuck Mike. Fuck Mike. Right up the arsehole. I'm gonna tell him to have you and me on at the same time.
Best of luck. Like I say, remember, Postal 4. Whenever this goes out, Postal 4. Stay tuned for the Wednesday update. Just keep in mind there's a certain boss character that I'll be voicing, but I'm not gonna say who. Unless it's 2 weeks later and it's already out, then you probably notice who I am.
Let's see. I think you'll be out in 2 weeks. Is that fair?
Yeah, 2 weeks roughly, and
Okay.
end of January or so.
That'd be fun to see how it grows. Like everything that you guys do, because we finished the first run, like the first quote unquote season, as you're putting it, of your magazine, which is 3 issues, plus the zero, and I don't know if you're considering that or not, but so this will be how many issues are we looking at for season 2? Just 4, 5, 6,
4. 4, yeah, it's going to be 4, 5, 6. That's going to be the main line.
Okay.
We're still going to crack on with the Patreon stuff. We also, as a potential stretch goal, whether this goes through or not, or whether we create this independently later on, we're thinking of making like a half a magazine, pretty much primarily just reviews and features that we made for Patreon. And then throw in some bonus goodies as well, like some exclusive stuff, like keep it exclusively physical. So there's like kind of like collectors kind of
I don't even know if
let's
you
see.
can read that.
I can't.
It's
I cannot read that in the slightest.
it's sorry webcam. It says that you should have Jacob E1M1 on your podcast. Also me, but fuck you either way. Kiss face. To Mike J.
His opening response. In its typical Mike J way.
He'll be up.
But anyway. So like I say, we were hoping that hopefully bang out a like a limited edition run physical magazine, half the size of a typical E1M1 mag. But I mean, who knows? I would love to make a full length like a full length proper bonus magazine that's maybe just physical only or something. Again, like Patreon stuff combined with bonus articles and things like that. I would love to do that. That would be so much fun to do. And I really hope that other people might show interest in that as well. Maybe digital with like a very limited amount of physicals. I don't know. But we'll see. What does it say?
So, immediate response. So let's just tell you what kind of person Mike Jarrett is. I'll put you both in my asshole.
Thanks, Mike.
Gold. Podcast gold.
Brilliant.
I'm sorry. Back to the interview. That's what I love about see, like, this is what you don't get on radio that I love about podcasting is like we just texted Mike J and saw what he had to say.
To be fair with radio, I think one of the benefits of that is like sometimes it's good to have restrictions because you got to find ways around said restrictions.
I agree.
That's something I like about that. Like, with some of the jokes we make and like the content that we cannot talk about, like one of the features we do is bad voice acting in video games. And it's like, how do we do that? Because we can't go on YouTube and play these things because that's technically illegal. We can't play a YouTube video for more than 8 seconds on the airwaves. We can actually get banned for that. So it's like, okay, then I'm going to go around, dig around some games, get recordings, edit them down, chop them up, and just make a compilation for each episode, and we'll just play them in real time, reacting, taking the mick out of it. I think probably one of the favorite games has to be, funnily enough, a build engine game. It's William Shatner's Tech War. We have made fun of that so many times with Shatner's like just really crappy acting. It's like, you go around, you basically like shoot all these civilians instead of doing your job. And Shatner's like, he's like this like upset step parent or hey, our Star Trek Enterprise tattoo, ain't it?
Just before you start shitting on William, big Trekkie here.
Don't get me hey,
Big time Trekkie.
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I respect William Shatner. I think very funny on Twitter, especially. Two things I'll make fun of him: his cover of Iron Man and William Shatner's Tech War. Those are the two things I'll laugh till the cows come home.
Shatner is one of those actors who, this is like 7s, 8, 9 when Star Trek was really kind of coming together.
Yeah.
Shatner never really made the transition from theater actor to film actor. And I will 100% give that to anyone. Like, you can have that. If that's your criticism, take it. It's true. But goddamn, I love Captain Kirk.
Fair enough. I mean, Shatner himself, it's not that Shatner's a bad actor, because no, he's a good actor. He's a talented bloke. It's just that, again, with Star Trek as Kirk, he does great. William Shatner's Tech War, it's him reading poorly written kind of dialogue from a green screen, where it's just like, it's just like, it's just going like awkward pause where he's just staring off camera, then suddenly, oh, quick, I'm uptown. I just saw Marty Dollar. He is down in this street. Go down here. Smile and nod. Oh, right. It just doesn't translate well.
If anyone who hasn't seen, like, Civ E1M1's probably, just, we'll give him that. Like, if you haven't seen his video on it, don't play the game.
Yeah.
Just watch that, and you'll be fine. You're like...
It was G-Man. G-Man made me realize how funny it was. Civvy recorded more clips, and I used recordings from both of their reviews for the show until I managed to get more of it from YouTube, especially. And like I say, it's just so much fun. I recently uploaded a YouTube clip of me and my mates kind of like making fun of him. And it's like, I don't believe this. You did this and that. The death toll is rising. Now get back out there and get me results. It's like, oh, I am so mildly frustrated right now. It's like pantomime acting. It's so to see this big name actor just completely flub it. It's brilliant.
He was making his fucking money being as lazy as he possibly could be, and it's fuck yeah.
And then he blocks anyone who talks about the game on Twitter. You ask him, hey, do you know anything about your Tech War game there, Shatner? Block. Oh.
Why not?
Fair enough.
He can do whatever. He's Captain Kirk. He can do whatever he wants, as far as I'm concerned.
Just photon torpedoes his detractors.
Dude, I've got some hours in Star Trek Online. Like, I am the definition of without the Spock ears, I'm Trekkie. Like, I'm all in.
The Shatner toupee, yeah.
But I will say, in criticism to Captain Kirk, I'm a John Picard guy. Like, it's just true. Like, I'm all like,
fair enough.
Next Gen is better. That's just what it is. I like Spot. I like McCoy. I like Scott. Actually, William Shatner is the weakest part of that show.
Then again, we've seen his fighting skills, but then again, it's the '60s. We will give him
Let's give him some fair shake on that, okay? Because we talked about wrestling before. Shatner actually learned how to, TV fight, because he was in Quebec, which was like a hot spot for pro wrestling at the time. So he learned how to TV fight from like Andre the Giant, like those guys. Like,
oh right,
like,
I know that.
Yeah, he kind of came from that era. So when you see Kirk fight on TV, that literally, like, what he does is like 101 pro wrestling. It's like 100% 101 professional wrestling style TV acting. It's hilarious to me, for me to watch. Yeah. But I like it. Like it's stupid. Everything. I mean, like everything from Star Trek, the first season is just fucking retarded. For no better term. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's to the point at least.
But that's true. Like he's just crazy. Like he's just doing like drop kicks. He literally like it's his signature move is to drop kick his opponent.
Oh dear.
You've been on for a long time. If you want to call it a day at any point, you call it.
Yeah, I think now or soon might be a good time so I can, probably get myself some supper in the system. I mean, unless there's anything else you want to like throw last minute in here.
No, man, you've been great. You've been fantastic, and as an interviewer, you've been fantastic. So anytime you ever want to come back on the show, I really want to build a repertoire of kind of like recurring guests on In the Keep. I think you'd be great. Please do.
Yeah, I'd love to get on board.
I've had a great time. And
thank you.
I think everything that you're doing with E1M1 is fantastic. This is so good for... I kind of hinted at it earlier, but it would be literally stupid for anyone who's involved in the retro shooter community to in any way disparage anything you do. Like, you're doing a broad, beautiful service for this group of people. So thank you. Strongly.
Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the kind words, this opportunity, and the stuff you do. I got to check out more of the stuff you're doing. I'm really grateful for everything. All the support and the constructive criticism and everything like that. I'm really grateful for everyone and everything. So thank you as well, and thank you for anyone out there who's listening too. All awesome. Have a banana.
Big thank you to Jake for finally making his way onto the podcast. It was an absolute pleasure to get to spend some time with him and get to know him a little bit better. Make sure you're checking out his radio show, The Cyber Den, on Siren FM. Also, if you're looking for someone to do some sick voice acting and you just got done listening to 2 straight hours of his gorgeous voice, perhaps hit him up. See if he's right for the job. That'd be really cool. And absolutely, obviously, make sure you get in on E1M1 Magazine. The second Kickstarter is underway, and the second season of amazing content will be out. It is an excellent source. I mean, if you like In the Keep and you're looking for more games, they're going to hit you with way more content than I could possibly send your way, as far as like check out this game, and like rating it and all that kind of stuff. It's a beautiful thing, and I really want to support it, and I hope that you do too. Got to say thank you to our supporters: Paul, Moose, Dots, Zach, Alexander, Brad, Red Eyes, Anthony, Robert, Jack, Brandy, Fred, Lord Revan, and Zan. You are all wonderful and greatly appreciated. Thank you each so much for being patrons. If you're out there listening, you're like, how do I get my name on that list? Go to inthekeep.com/support. You'll find links to our Patreon, as well as many other ways to give back to the community a little bit monetarily. You can also check out our many affiliate links. I'll hit you with a few right now. Why don't you consider, when you're doing your Amazon shopping, which I know you are, just go through our link instead. We'll get a little bit of a kickback from that. It's really helpful. It doesn't matter what you fucking buy. And I won't know who you are if you buy something crazy weird. You can buy whatever you want on Amazon. And just a small percentage of that will come back. Actually, I think gardening tools, that kind of stuff, is the most profitable. So if you're like me and you're into gardening and you buy some shit on Amazon, that's probably like the most percentage we'll get out of it. But if you're just trying to build a new computer or something like that, it'd be really cool. Helps support the In the Keeps projects. Doesn't cost you anything extra. Everybody wins. We also have a link there for Buzzsprout. If you are considering getting into podcasting yourself and you don't know how to distribute it, I highly recommend you use our Buzzsprout affiliate link and support the show while also getting yourself into a fantastic service. I'm not advertising for them. It's just like I use Buzzsprout and they give me this option, and it's a win-win for everybody. But yeah, if you want your stuff on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and everything else, they always keep us up to date on what the newest, greatest platforms to put your podcast on are all the time. So that's a great option. To you for listening, I want to say thank you. Really, really appreciate it. You're awesome. I love you. The Drowned God Katala loves you. Till next time, stay in the keep.